Hello and welcome to WashingtonExec video series. I'm Amanda Ziadeh with WashingtonExec, and with me today is Stephen Ambrose, newly appointed Chief Climate Scientist for SAIC. Thank you so much for joining me today, Stephen, and congratulations.
Thanks. Thank you.
Of
It's a
course.
pleasure to be here today talking with you. That's great. Thanks.
Of course. Yeah, me too. So I understand this is a newly created role at SAIC. So what exactly does a Chief Climate Scientist entail, and what are your top priorities?
Yeah, well, it's assisting SAIC and assisting our customers responding to weather and climate changes that we're experiencing. So SAIC saw the need. It's a very important task as you think of even today with the tropical storm Elsa coming up the coast of Florida. It's the earliest the Caribbean has experienced a hurricane type tropical storm at this time of the year. So things are changing. We need to respond to that and better prepare for that. My priorities will be using SAIC's knowledge and experience, which they've gained over many, many years in terms of science and technology and engineering, and applying those to climate change issues and weather issues that we're experiencing. And that includes things like infrastructure, public health, new technologies for responding to sea level rise, things to mitigate climate change too. Of course, the greenhouse gases that we're dealing with, how to respond to those with our transportation technologies and other technologies that's available to us. So the priorities will be working with our federal customers and, of course, industry too, and other customers to give the best societal benefit that we can at the best cost to the customers too. We want to do good things. We have a mission to do right, and a company that's been doing that for years. So that's our priorities.
Wonderful. Well, you mentioned some recent events that have clearly indicated the need for this role. Can you tell us a bit about why SAIC created this role and why it's so important as we transition to a world where a chief climate scientist may perhaps be the norm for most companies in GovCon?
Yes, well, of course, you know what the administration, the current administration is doing related to climate change and the priorities they're putting forward to all the agencies, including DOD. So the role of climate experts, climate advisors, climate policy, climate science, all that's much more important these days, and that's what SAIC responded to. So you're seeing a lot of activity going on in the area, things that are growing in size. Of course, what the United Nations, for example, is doing. They're building their climate programs globally. It's a global issue. It's an important issue, something that needs response. So that's the way things are going, and the way that SAIC saw that. I was just fortunate, of course, to be a climate scientist and be a meteorologist for years, as also an aerospace engineer working for NASA. My experience there, they recognized that, and that's what got things started here. We're a great program that we established.
Right. And speaking of your experience, I understand you have more than 40 years of experience working with NASA, NOAA, the EPA, like you mentioned, and the Department of Interior, General Dynamics, and climate science spaces. So how does your experience and background prepare you for this new role?
Well, that is 35 years in the federal government, working on weather and climate missions of NOAA and NASA. That's where I got most of my experience in their operational missions, their research, their applications, their decision support systems. Even after I left the federal government these past few years, again supporting NOAA and NASA and EPA this go around, as well as other agencies and other industry. So my experience is broad. It's what's needed, I think, to tackle these challenges. Not only working with, of course, climate data, but working with the climate science and the instruments and the engineering that goes along with that. So that's my experience fits in. It's my passion. Of course, my other passion, of course, is meteorology and geology and astronomy. So they all kind of fit in too. So it just gave me a background of enough differences and things and what should I say? Just the roles I did was varied and expansive. So I think that I can do good for the company and do good for the country.
Awesome. So what problems are you most looking forward to tackling?
Well, definitely all the changes with climate change, sea level rise, temperature changes, drought, wildfires, the disasters associated with that are impacting society, impacting the world. There's issues with the ocean in terms of pollution there, water pollution, water availability, clean drinking water. There's just so much a variety of challenges to address, but they'll be driven by what the federal agencies and industry are asking us to do. So I want to be prepared to cover all the bases we can within these challenges we have.
Wonderful. Well, your new position is certainly a show of the times. So we look forward to watching it progress and hopefully expand throughout GovCon. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And say thanks a lot for having me on today.